failed is quite the reach, pal. I'm still waiting on a text or call from Stefanski after I got shipped off like a piece of garbage. Can't wait to see you twice a year, coach.
That's Baker Mayfield's own words, still living rent-free in his head years later. And dog, that's the whole problem wrapped up in one tweet. Cleveland fans hear Baker Mayfield to free agency in 2027 and immediately start planning a parade. Before you get your hopes up, answer me this in the comments. Why if you take Baker back tomorrow, and if that bridge is burned for good? Let's see where this fan base actually lands, because it is not as split as you think.
$60 million or $55 million settles a lot of previous grievances.
Money fixes feelings. That's basically the entire argument for this reunion. And it's not nothing, but it's also not the whole truth, because feelings weren't the only thing broken here. A front office made a football decision to bench him for Deshaun Watson, and that front office is still standing.
There's more quarterbacks that can hurt you than there are quarterbacks that can help you.
That's the pro-Baker argument in a nutshell, and it's the same logic Browns fans are quietly running in their own heads right now. Sure, everybody's nostalgic, but nostalgia isn't a front office plan. So let's actually dig into whether this reunion makes any sense, or if Cleveland's about to romanticize a guy who left because the building itself didn't want him. The Bucs and Baker just let extension talks die. He plays out 2026 on his current deal, hits free agency in March 2027, and immediately the internet does what the internet does. It starts building a bridge back to Cleveland before anybody's even asked if Baker wants to walk across it.
The Bucs and quarterback Baker Mayfield are expected to end contract extension talks. The plan now is for Mayfield to play this season on the final year of his contract, and then he's scheduled to become a free agent in March. Can you believe it?
That's the news in plain terms, and on its face, it's a routine cap decision. But drop it into Cleveland, a city that's still got a Baker Mayfield-shaped hole where a franchise quarterback should be, and it stops being routine. It's bait, because the numbers back up why people are even entertaining this. Since landing in Tampa, Baker's put up back-to-back 4,000-yard seasons, stayed in the MVP conversation, and built a playoff resume that includes an actual road win. That's not a guy who fell off after Cleveland shipped him out. That's a guy who got better the second he left the building that doubted him. Go back and look at how ugly the split actually got. Cleveland.com reported Baker didn't like the run-heavy 3 tight end scheme, didn't think Stefanski was calling enough of the play-action bootlegs that made him dangerous, and at one point reportedly would have rather had the offensive coordinator running the offense entirely. That's not a quarterback being precious. That's a guy watching his own strengths get coached out of the game plan on purpose. And when Cleveland turned around and handed the QB1 job to Deshaun Watson instead of figuring out the scheme fit, that's the moment Baker stopped being a Brown in every way that mattered except the paperwork.
Not signing Baker to a long-term deal, it's just dumb. It's negligent.
Now here's where it gets messy, because not everybody thinks Tampa's making a mistake by letting him walk into free agency. That's one host going to bat hard, and the other side isn't buying the ceiling, pulling out the number that stings. Over the last 3 years, Baker's got the second most touchdown passes in all of football, trailing only Jared Goff and sitting ahead of Matthew Stafford and Lamar Jackson. Say that out loud, ahead of Lamar Jackson in touchdown passes over a 3-year stretch, and the debate is still whether he deserves top dollar money. Even his own critics land on above average number 1 overall pick when you force them to rank him next to Trevor Lawrence, Jameis Winston, and Kyler Murray. That's the tension. Nobody's saying he's bad. They're arguing about whether good enough to win with is the same thing as good enough to build around. And that split take is basically the entire national conversation on Baker in miniature. Cleveland needs to answer that question honestly before it starts dreaming about a reunion tour, because it's the exact same question that got him shipped out the first time. Here's the turning point, and it's not a stat, it's a name. Kevin Stefanski has gone from Cleveland, and every account of why Baker soured on the Browns comes back to that relationship. The play-action bootlegs he wanted and didn't get, the scheme that fit Deshaun Watson's frame better than his, the frustration that built until Baker reportedly wanted the offensive coordinator calling plays instead of his own head coach. That's box 1, checked.
I think Todd Monken's a real key difference this time, because I think Todd Monken and Baker Mayfield would be best buddies.
Cute theory. Except Monken doesn't run the front office. He doesn't decide who plays quarterback in Cleveland long term. The guys who do are the same guys who watched Baker walk out the door in the first place. And they haven't been fired. They've been rehabilitated by good PR and a couple of lucky drafts. Run the actual checklist, and it gets uncomfortable fast. Stefanski's out. Fine. Box 1. Box 2, the front office has to actually apologize, has to swallow some pride and admit they got the quarterback decision wrong back in 2022. Box 3, Deshaun Watson has to be fully, cleanly out of the building. No half measures, no re-signing the guy Baker got benched for in the first place. Box 4, Cleveland has to actually pay him, and we're talking $50+ million a year, top 10 quarterback money, real financial commitment, not a show-me deal. And box 5 is the cruelest one, because it's not even in anybody's control. It depends entirely on whether the Browns land in that exact sweet spot in 2026, where the roster's good enough to compete, but the quarterback play is the only thing missing. Too good? And Shador's the guy, and Baker's a backup plan nobody needs. Too bad? And they're drafting a rookie in the top 5 instead. That's not a plan. That's a coin flip wearing a business suit. This is where the stakes stop being about one contract and start being about the entire pattern. The comparison gets made straight up. If LeBron James and Dan Gilbert could bury the hatchet, why not Baker and Jimmy Haslam?
If LeBron and Dan Gilbert can get over each other, I think Baker and Jimmy Haslam can.
Except LeBron came home to finish a story he wrote for a city he grew up in. Baker doesn't have that. Baker has a front office that treated his career like disposable inventory, then rebuilt its own reputation while he was busy fighting for a roster spot in Tampa. One side has actual roots pulling it back, the other side has a bank account. Those are not the same kind of gravity. And let's be honest about how that front office pulled off its own image rehab. Andrew Berry oversaw arguably the worst trade in modern NFL history, and somehow the conversation around him now is good drafting and a franchise turning a corner, despite a combined 8 wins across 2 seasons in the thick of the Watson disaster. That's not an accident. That takes a PR machine actively managing the narrative, the same way it propped up Stefanski's reputation through years of disappointment. Baker got shipped out and had to rebuild his own career from scratch, with backup competitions and cheap prove-it deals. The people who shipped him out got a redemption arc handed to them by the media. Tell me which one of those sounds like it's been held accountable. And this is where the ripple effect fans out past just Baker and just Cleveland, because the same debate that's happening in Cleveland's head is happening in Tampa's contract meetings too.
As a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, the last 3 seasons, he's averaging 4,000 yards a season, 32 touchdowns, and 12 picks.
That's the actual production the Bucs are letting walk into free agency, and it's the same production Cleveland would be buying if this reunion ever happens. The same show spends real energy comparing Baker's value to Vita Vea's, arguing whether a top 12 quarterback and a top 12 defensive tackle deserve the same respect from front offices that keep underpaying proven production. That's not a coincidence. That's the whole league right now, quietly deciding which good but not elite players are worth top dollar, and which ones get the prove-it-again treatment. Baker's been fighting that label since the day Cleveland drafted him. A trip back to the same building that started the labeling doesn't erase it. It just puts it back on the same stage. Zoom out further, and it's bigger than Baker. The league's been quietly building a manufactured middle class at quarterback, guys who get the Daniel Jones treatment instead of the true top-tier bag, even after Jordan Love landed $55 million off essentially 8 good games. Meanwhile, Sam Darnold wins a Super Bowl and still doesn't get a real adjustment. Baker's stuck in that same bucket, a guy who statistically outproduces half the quarterbacks getting paid more than him, in a division so weak it makes his one playoff win look bigger than it might actually be. Every team in this league is running the exact same math on somebody. Baker's just the version of it Cleveland has an emotional stake in.
Let me know what you think the percent chance is that Baker Mayfield would come back to Cleveland next season. On a scale of 1 to 100, comment down below how likely you think this is by typing a percentage, guys.
So here's the honest verdict. Stefanski leaving checks 1 box out of 5. The front office apologizing, cutting ties clean with Deshaun Watson, finding $55 to $60 million in cap space, and then needing the Browns' 2026 record to land in that exact sweet spot where they're good enough to compete but still missing a proven arm. That's 4 boxes still sitting wide open, and none of them are close to checked. Haslam and Berry get to keep collecting redemption arcs in the media, while the guy they actually wronged has to decide if a bigger paycheck is worth walking back into the building that called him disposable. Cleveland wants the story to end with Baker coming home. Baker's the one who still remembers exactly why he left, and receipts like that don't expire just because the record's better now.